So I want to address African Americans, Latinos, LGBT, the people who have the most at stake here. And again, I'm white. I've led a pretty decent life. You know, I've had my struggles, but for the most part, economically speaking and socially, besides some Jewish jokes at my expense growing up, I have not been on the receiving end of racism, on that much anti-Semitism. But I want to make something clear to you guys. And again, I'm white, so I don't want to come off insensitive. You do have a right to fear, to feel fear. I don't want to minimize that. But I want to make sure you're realizing that for the last 8 years, we've had a black president in America. Do you see what's going on around the country? We've had a black president who's pretty much said words about police mowing down black men around the country for no reason. He hasn't done anything about it. He said words about Native Americans currently having their land dug up, their ancestors' burial grounds being dug up. Hasn't done a damn thing about it. When 20 school children got shot to death in Newtown, Connecticut, he came out, he cried. What did he do after that? And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, Republicans controlled Congress. This is a man with the greatest, or possibly the best oratory skills we've ever seen. He could have barnstormed the country and shamed every last Republican who's standing in the way of background checks that were supported by 90% of Americans. He chose not to. So I'm not minimizing that Donald Trump is a threat, but I am pointing out that it's your communities, African Americans, Latinos, LGBT. LGBT, I'll give President Obama credit. He evolved on gay marriage. Don't ask, don't tell. He does deserve credit for those things. But, we had a Democratic president who's African American. He has not stepped in to turn the tide on this police brutality. He has not stepped in to turn the tide on the, very, very clearly obvious endemic racism in police departments. He has not done a damn thing about environmental racism. He went into Flint originally for a photo op. Hasn't been back since. There's a lead poisoning crisis. I broke this story in East Chicago, Indiana. Hasn't done a damn thing. I just told you about Standing Rock. Hasn't done a damn thing. I bring this up not because this is, I hate Obama and let's shit on Obama. I'll have plenty of time to talk about Obama before he heads out. I bring this up because if you think that a president is going to be the one to save your community, think again. Paul Revere ain't coming for you, African Americans or Latinos. We're the ones who are going to stop the police brutality. We're the ones who are going to stop pipelines. Not Obama. Yeah, they might be the ones who actually pull the trigger, figuratively speaking, and stop it. Only after we light a fucking fire under their ass. That's how change happens in this country. So for those African Americans, Latinos who are scared, I am with you. I'm scared of Donald Trump too. But don't confuse rhetoric for action. And make sure you understand that rhetoric needs to be met by action. Barack Obama has not done anything about police brutality because the pressure hasn't been on him strong enough by us. Black Lives Matter has done amazing things. I don't want to take away from Black Lives Matter, but more needs to be done. Leaders like Obama, leaders like Hillary Clinton, leaders like, if you want to call him a leader, President-elect Trump, they're not going to actually stop pipelines. They're not actually going to step in and actually demand systemic change in police departments unless we make them. Lyndon B. Johnson did not magically want to, give civil rights to black people. Martin Luther King and his army behind him fucking made him. When eventually this country gets single payer health care, it's not going to be because the pharmaceutical companies wave the white flag. It's not going to be because, corporate Democrats, which won't cease to exist today, by the way, just said, you're right. We're going to make them. So I guess what I'm saying is, again, you have a right to be fearful because this man has said some deplorable things and he's threatening to do some deplorable things. But you could either sit in fear or you could act. And you have had a black president for the last 8 years who has not done anything to reverse these systemic things that are not only threatening you, but are right now killing your people. How many black people need to die before a politician has some courage to stop it? And stop hiding behind the fact, state law, federal law. No. Leaders act. Leaders change minds and hearts. Leaders demand change from the police and the state governments, and they rally the troops behind them to execute on that demand. And Barack Obama didn't do that. And we know Hillary Clinton was not going to do that. And we know Donald Trump will never do that. So again, you could react very, very strongly to the deplorable language. Or you could say, you know what? We've had nice language coming from Obama, but he hasn't done anything either. So we could respond to language, or we could fucking rally and fight this guy from day one. Because that's what you're going to have to do. I've already told you the example of 2004. All Democrats thought all was lost. Bush won re-election. I mean, some people back then were talking about we won't see another Democratic president ever. 2 years later, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker of the House. Democrats retook the House. 2008, Obama wins in a landslide. Things change very quickly in politics when there's action and force to change them.